Congratulations. Next, I would like firefighters Mike Rusin and Shannon Heaton to step forward, please. People are and always will be the greatest asset of any organization. These two individuals have combined 55 years of service to the fire department and to the community. Firefighter Shannon Heaton, 25 years. Firefighter Mike Rusin, 30 years of service. In recognition of their tenure with the township, I'd like to present each of you with a couple of plaques as a token of our appreciation of your dedication. I'd like to thank both of you personally for your loyalty and dedication to the organization. And lastly, I'd like the members of Station 26 and police officer Chief Burns to step forward, please. The citizens and visitors of our community depend on the township's public safety departments to protect lives and property. When we are faced with an emergency incident, life safety is always at the forefront of our decision-making process. At 03:47 a.m. on May 29th, Colerain Township Fire Department units were dispatched to Overlook Chateau Apartments at 2302 West Calvert Road for a reported working structure fire with persons trapped. The first arriving units from Station 26 found heavy smoke and fire on the second floor of the building, with several people at the windows and were trapped by fire, smoke, and heat. These crews immediately began placing ground ladders through the windows, safely removing 6 occupants over ladders, while other members made a quick exterior knockdown of the fire so that the rescue of other 2 occupants could be made by the interior stairwell. The swift, decisive action and determination of these firefighters in the face of heavy smoke and fire saved 8 lives that morning and greatly reflected the highest traditions of Colerain Township Department of Fire and EMS, and the American Fire Service and law enforcement as well. But at this time, I'd like to present the members of Station 26, Captain Grant Burns, Firefighter Matthew Bear, Firefighter Lamont Tubbs, Firefighter Justin Boyce, and Firefighter John Bowles, with the outstanding unit citation, which will be displayed in their station. Congratulations, guys. Officer Burks would like to present you with the Meritorious Service Award for your efforts. Obviously, when you took the job that you did, firefighting wasn't part of it, but you realized in the role of public safety, you did what you had to do, and we also greatly appreciate your efforts on that board. Thank you.
As usual, if any of you that are here with these very kind firefighters and police officers do not want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you are free to leave at this time and take as many pictures as you want. You will not insult us that you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting or disturb the meeting, so feel free to leave. That was what you came for.
Thank you.
Okay, and while they're all leaving, we're on to administrative reports tonight.
You guys have anything this evening?
I do, Mr. Ryan.
Okay.
Just a couple. At this month's Coffee with the Chiefs, I was pleased to meet Carol Miller. Miss Miller is a 92-year-old lady who lives back in the Villages in Northgate. I learned that she walks her neighborhood every single morning in the parking lot of Aldi's and Chipotle and cleans up litter. She's been doing this for a number of years, and she does it without fail, and I thought it was something that was worthy of mentioning to everybody.
Fantastic.
Detective Mike Stockmeyer completed the requirements for his bachelor's degree. He graduated from University of Cincinnati with a degree in criminal justice. And the police department's been asked by the Mental Health America of Northern Kentucky and Southwest Ohio to join 10 other, as they term it, carefully chosen police departments in a roundtable discussion on mental health and law enforcement collaboration.
Anybody else?
That's it.
On to trustees report. Mr. Ritter, you want to go first?
I do. I only have one thing tonight, and it has to do with the Waste District. Since we had our first meeting on the subject recently, I had a couple of residents reach out to me, senior citizen residents, who expressed some concern about the senior discount they currently receive from Rumpke, for instance, and the fact that they may be losing that if we move to a waste district collectively for the whole township. So, my question, Mr. Rowan, is there, is there any possibility of remedying that in the current structure of the RFP right now, and how would you suggest we address it?
Well, it's my understanding, Trustee Ritter, that the current contract as presented does not have an option for a senior discount. However, the one piece that we put into the contract was to provide the limited option, which would come with a 96-gallon waste container, a 65-gallon recyclable container at a much lower cost. The comparison of the senior rate on the unlimited garbage is correct. It is slightly higher. However, we believe that in many cases, most Colerain residents with the 95 or 96-gallon waste container and 65-gallon recyclable container would handle most, if not all, cases.
You think logically, it's senior citizen.
That's correct.
Too, especially in that case.
So we did go with the limited container option as part of that base cost to give those that are looking for a lower cost option for garbage and recycling. I think the other component to that is while the senior rate is less expensive, if you look at the senior rate and add in the recycling cost, I believe the unlimited option is still less expensive. It's just those that don't currently subscribe to recycling, if they want the unlimited, it would be a little higher.
Perfect. Thank you. And then lastly, just wanted to mention Taster Colerain is this weekend. I hope everybody that's watching on Waycross tonight and that are here this evening can consider coming. It's our signature festival of the year, and it's Friday and Saturday this weekend, so hope you can make it.
And since Jeff just stole my trustee report, I have no report to make. So we will do.
We will put that in there.
We have a citizens address tonight. First up, it looks like we have Mr. Insco. And just a reminder, we have several people signed in tonight. You do not have to give your address when you approach.
My name is Greg Insco. I'm one of 4 people running for Colerain Township trustee. I highly advise everyone to get to know your candidates. Our leaders are so involved in our community that they claim they never heard of the guy that walked across America or ran against them in the last election, for that matter. So I'm going to give them a little history lesson real quick. In 2009, I completed a walk to California in honor of my late friend. It took me 76 days to walk from right here in Colerain Township all the way out to California. With permission, there was a memorial rock placed at Colerain Park paying tribute to my late friend and I. It was an incredible accomplishment that one person in this room tried to take away from us.
Mr. Insco, you sure you want to go there?
I do. Fast forward. This is not political at all, you're right. I have 4 minutes, and I'm addressing someone that's here.
We're running the meeting, and we can determine the content and what you're going to talk about. It has to be relevant to the health, safety, and welfare of Colerain Township.
It very much is. It's a character issue.
You slandered this board once about something that didn't happen.
Facts are, and I've got all the proof. Would you let me fit 4 minutes? Fast. This is not an accusation. I've got proof, and I can back it up. Fast forward 2 years ago, I was told by a friend, no longer employed here, that the administrator ordered the memorial rock to be moved and subsequently placed face down elsewhere in the park because he was mad.
That is an absolute lie.
I honestly didn't believe him because there was no way anybody was dumb enough to move a memorial rock out of spite.
Would you like to address the current situation?
I am. Plus, they don't have money to fix our roads or mow our parks. Certainly, they don't have enough money to move a memorial rock. It turns out our administrator is mad at me for posting receipts proving he stole money from our taxpayers.
Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mr. Insko, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you.
I suggest you keep it to the truth.
It's all the truth.
You might want to try exercising some maturity for once, too.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It turns out our administrator is mad at me for posting receipts proving he stole money from our taxpayers. Our neighboring community leaders all agreed he should have been fired, but he hasn't even been reprimanded because the people that hired him are his good friends, the trustees. There's no denying any of this. I've got all the proof. From him stealing from us as to why he moved the memorial rock strictly out of spite. Now, I'd like to think of myself as a pretty forgiving person, and I'd like to think so as the community. Mr. Rohan, if you would, please apologize for your actions.
Continue speaking. You have 2 minutes. The board
I-
does not address comments. That's not how this works.
Okay,
Speak.
I'm done speaking then.
Okay, well then you're done. Have a seat, sir.
Apology accepted.
I don't believe anybody apologized to you, sir. We didn't do anything wrong. Mr. Acton, if you'd like to step up. Where'd Mr. Acton go? Oh, there you are. Sorry, I didn't see you, sir.
Didn't leave anybody. Before the clock gets started, I would like to recommend the congratulations to Mr. Malloy of putting the black on white presentation on last week. I think you both attended. I think it was a very good meeting and it was very successful. The one thing that kept coming out of it, and I'm going to address a little of that this evening, is we need information as citizens. Where is this going to go to from here?
You mean the group meetings?
Yes.
I believe they're scheduled, and I know Mr. Malloy is not here tonight. I believe that
Yes,
there's
I
going to be
noticed that.
several more community meetings that are planned. I think they were going to just kind of take some time to get all the info in, because you know there were several people there, and kind of digest it a little and see where the next direction is. I know that we're having there's like a block party. I'm trying to remember the email now. With firefighters and with some police officers. Was that in the Skyline area?
It's going to be in the Skyline area, probably the 1st of September.
So I know that's kind of in the works as one of the steps that came out of that meeting was, getting more involved with the community one-on-one. So, but I believe we're going to have multiple more discussions as it was labeled. I don't think there's one planned at this exact moment, mainly because of Taste of Colerain and other things.
Okay.
But there are many more discussions coming.
Just so, the citizens are well aware of, those
Yes.
ones watching Waycross. What I want to get into tonight, I already used a minute and a half
Sorry.
dialogue between us, so forgive me if I run over 5 seconds. At this time, I would like to thank Elmer Grosner, owner of Diefenbachers Greenhouses, for all the flowers that they have donated at no cost to increase the township's beauty and appearance, not only to the residents, but to our visitors. I went out and visited Mr. Grosner, thanks to the information Tim gave me, and thanked him personally. And he appreciated it very much, and Frank has sent an email thanking or Elmer for the flowers also that's been given to us. My point tonight is when the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department shared patrolling duties with Colerain Township Police Department, Lieutenant Schoonover and the Sheriff's Department would advise the Colerain residents of the multi-actions that were taken during the prior month. Examples: DUIs, accidents, money that they collected from robbery suspects, and also from thefts. Then our ex-police chief, Dan Monroy, would report the same actions that the Colerain Police Department covered during that same period. My question, and I've talked to the chief earlier this evening, is why is not Colerain Township doing this as they did in the past?
Do you have another question? I don't want to eat your time up. I'll answer, but did you have something else?
Well, they should turn the clock off. You should when you answer.
Basically, Dan stopped doing that because he thought it, like Denny did tonight, he thought it was more interesting for the township for people to understand, just like Denny said, just like Mark said tonight about things that happened, like the officer, getting his bachelor's degree. Dan wanted to focus more in that direction than on just straight statistics. I believe the statistics should still be on the website.
We actually, a couple different ways that the statistics can be obtained. I know Mr. Rowan puts the dashboard up on the township website, but we also have a online mapping. I know we talked about that, Raids Online, that provides every criminal offense that occurred in the township down to the street and block that it occurred. So it's all out there for everybody.
It was just a preference. Dan thought it would be better to go in a direction that kind of highlighted good things that had happened in the community over the last month or a couple weeks or whatever the span had been than just the straight numbers.
But there's citizens out there who would like to know how much money has been collected back from burglars, thefts, things like that, how many DUIs we've had, like that. General information. We just passed a levy. We should know what's going on in the township. And I'm not blaming the chief here. This is something that was dropped long ago. And as I told him tonight, there is a website that you can pick this up on. It's kind of hard to read. It's Raids Online. And it's available in the whole state of Ohio, the whole United States, if they're signed up for it. And I tried to compare Colerain with some other areas. Green Township's not involved in it. Springfield Township's not involved in it. So it goes like that. So, Chief, as we talked earlier, at the next meeting, if possible, if you could expound on some of this information I asked you earlier about, how many DWIs have we had in August? This would be the September meeting.
Right, and that information's available on the website as well.
Well, like I say, all of us aren't on the website. That's the whole problem. And that's the reason why I think there's 125 people, 127 people probably watching. Hopefully Northwest Press will pick this up too. And so the chief said we had 15 DWIs in August, so on and so on. Just to expound on what is the levy money's being used for. We're paying your guy's salary. We'd like to know what it gets down to. An example of what the police department has done this past month, there have been 15 wellness checks, 43 accidents that were covered, there was 15 DWI arrests, and it goes on and on and on. But it's just information that I feel that we as residents should know. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Mr. McVeigh?
Thank you. Tonight I'd like to talk about the idea to waive the rent for the chamber. I don't think it's right. The three trustees and the administration have talked for some time about how short we are of funds and how things need to be self-funded if possible. This seems to be moving in the wrong direction. Who originated the request?
Actually, we had a request from the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce.
So it's not the board or the organization. It came from the executive director?
It came from the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. So she's one person who said that we need to do this.
No, she asked me if we would consider.
But the board didn't vote on it.
The board is going to vote on it this evening, or consider it this evening.
Chamber board. Chamber board did not vote on it.
To my knowledge,
Okay,
they have
thank
not.
you. I see in the Ohio Secretary of State business site that the law director, Barbier, has his law firm are doing legal work for the chamber. Who's paying for this service?
Chamber.
Chamber's paying for the service?
Actually, they're not. We are.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
So the township's paying for the service. Thank you. I appreciate that. Doesn't that kind of represent a conflict of interest? A little bit cozy? I'll leave that there. Okay. What other administrative support does the township provide? Mr. Rowan, what other, is there any other administrative support that we provide to the chamber?
I do not believe so.
For a while we did, but we don't now.
That's correct.
Okay. The chamber has paid no rent since inception. You're giving the chamber tens of thousands of dollars. You've done that. And yet you charge families and children to use parks. And you raise our cable fees, and it goes on and on. You know, you got these kids that are going to play ball in the ballpark with their parents, and they got to pay, but the chamber doesn't have to pay anything. You know, I paid rent when I started out, just like the chamber. You know, my first check, you had to pay something to the landlord. If you didn't pay it to the landlord, you were asked to leave. A lot of residents in Colerain Township, they deal with the same thing. If they don't pay the rent, they have to ask to leave. Now, the chamber has over 100 companies. Why can't they pay their rent? These guys are supposed to be a big business. The chamber board and its members should be ashamed that they are stiffing the residents in the township because they won't make a rent payment. They should pay or leave, as any other resident would have to do. Why don't they pass the hat at their meetings, or a boot like the fire people do? Why don't they borrow the money? I mean, the legal people have given them authority to do that. Why don't they use one of their own members as an attorney rather than hiring Larry Barbier? Why don't they raise membership fees to cover their costs? Why do they think residents should foot the bill for their organization? Now, when you log into the chamber webpage and review their blogs, their newsletters, and photos, it appears it's primarily a social club. By looking at some of the photos on the website, it looks like a large political gathering in some instances. And some of you were in those pictures. Were you aware that the chamber is holding a business after-hours event on August 20th? And they are providing a $25 gift certificate for every member that attends. They can give away $25 to every member who attends, but they can't pay the rent. That's BS. Now let me be clear. I think a chamber of commerce can be a good thing for our township. I'm not against the chamber, if it's well run and well led. What we have is not good. Now, President Stonehill appears to have improved the communications. There's a lot more that she's publishing. But the thing is, when you look at the newsletters and you look at the blogs, nothing's happening except parties. Let me ask you a question. What has this group done to bring new business to the township? What has the group done to help clean up our community? What has the group done to remove the clutter signs that pollute the landscape that they put up? What has this group done to help reduce crime? What has this group done to help education by offering assistance to our school systems and its students? It seems the answer to these questions is they've done nothing. There is no good reason the township should be funding this chamber. Since they claim to be responsible business leaders, they need to start paying their own rent. If they're unable to pay, you should wish them good luck and ask them to find some other place to meet and do their business, and remove what appears to be a conflict of interest. The evidence supports the chamber is not serving the residents, and residents should not be asked to fund it. The business pays about 17% of the taxes, and residents pay close to 80%. This is wholly unfair. Trustee Reinhardt, since you're up for re-election, I'm almost done, I don't know how you can tell residents in good faith that you're looking out for their best interests if you approve this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McVeigh. I have a Mitch Coleman. Mr. Coleman?
First thing this is a thank you for Public Works. I talked to them recently regarding some environments and nuisances as far as grass and things like that. The recruiting station grass out there in front on Colerain Avenue, they've trimmed that a couple times now. The Pizza Hut grass, as I call it, down there by Hobby Lobby in that area, they're starting to now take care of that. And there's also, appears to be a foreclosure on Silva. There's a home there, and they've now cut the grass twice, finally. So again, that's a thank you for basically keeping on top of this. And the other thing would be if you could just give me a little status on a couple of things. The Galbraith Road project and also the Pool Road house, I guess you'd say, the one that's going to be demoed, maybe.
When you say the Galbraith Road project, is that the county improvements? My understanding was last time I spoke to them, that should be wrapping up within the next 30 days. And the Pool Road house is still in litigation, so I don't want to comment on that at this time. So.
Next I have Mrs. Coleman. Did you also wish to speak?
What can I say? We're a tag team. I wanted to ask about, well, we heard Jane Coleman on Aaron Drive, so about the CMHA. I was actually hoping they would stay, but first off, I really do think it's a good idea what they're going to do on John Rose. And my mother-in-law, my husband's mother, actually lives directly behind the reservists out in Mount Healthy. So we're very familiar with how that project went. And as Mr. Ritter said, they're wanting to more or less mirror that for the township here. And it's a great project. However, I think that you need to be aware of some of the things that happened over there and go in with your eyes open. We went to the original groundbreaking in Mount Healthy. We spoke to some of the executives and were told front out that the construction fence was going to come down. There was going to be a decorative fence, was still going to be a fence, but not a construction fence. The construction fence is still there. They're building another project now in Mount Healthy. My husband spoke to the executive director, and he danced all around it and sidestepped and said, well, there's a fence. And all the residents are really happy about the fence. And given a choice of no fence and a construction fence, yes, construction fence is fine. But we were told specifically that there was going to be a decorative fence. The mayor of Mount Healthy kind of speculated that they ran out of money. So if there happens to be something along those lines that you want in the township project, get it in writing, because they changed their minds and they don't stand behind what they say. They also say they want to be good neighbors. My mother-in-law has now paid for mole extraction three, and I think 4 times. So trying to be a good neighbor, we tried to go over to let them know that the moles were actually in their property and coming under the construction fence. You could see the lines. After we finally got in, the property manager informed us that they had a certification that they were mold-free, tough tea, and get off the property, more or less. And they were certified that they didn't have molds, and if they had them again, so sorry. And that was also said to the executive director of the CMHC, HA, and it was like, oh, so sorry, we don't believe you. They walking away. And if you stir up the dirt, you're going to get molds. It is a fact. And they're walking away, so, be prepared for that too. Bottom line, it's a great project, reserves of Mount Healthy. It's really nice, much better neighbors than were there. But some of what they say may or may not happen. And since we saw it firsthand right there, we thought you should be made aware of that.
Thank you.
But bottom line, it is actually a good project, and I think you should go forward. But just, as they say, go in with your eyes wide open, and if there's something that's important, get it in writing.
Thank you. I think these are good issues that you bring in, to the table. If one of you, or even the board, one of the board can reach out to them, I might be in favor of that.
I'll reach out to Regina tomorrow and share some of the concerns.
I think the other thing that strikes me as possibly a mitigating thing is that we think about the footprint of where that's going to be. To the west is Clifford, an industrial setting, and then to the east and to the west, or there's nothing there either. To the north and to the south. The only part that we think about it is going to be facing residential is to the east, because the west is, to the north is Cincinnati Mining Machinery, and to the south is going to be all just blank land.
you might have a better situation there.
Right.
The reserve of South Martin is completely surrounded by residential. And like I say, if I was given a choice between no fence and a construction fence, I would choose a construction fence too. But that wasn't what we were told at the groundbreaking.
Thank you for coming forward.
So, the other thing I did want to, that I put on there was the garbage aggregation, if we could have an update on that, of how that's going. Because again, I agree that I approve, and I think the aggregation is wonderful. Rumpke's a difficult pill to swallow. You know, sorry.
You're preaching to the choir.
Oh, you're not the only one that's.
You know, like I said last time, you know, you're going to court right now. They've got an uncontrolled fire still going, and they put out the stuff on the, you know, the income tax at Jay-Z. Qualified bid. Don't know. So, but if I could, if
Yes,
we could have an update on that.
Absolutely. There's actually, staff is attending a meeting Thursday with the other two townships to finalize any questions we may have. I plan to bring the resolution before this board September 8th for consideration.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Brenner?
I think I might have to apologize for coming in with this, but my name's John Brenner, and I recently bought a land dominion over off on south of on Austin Ridge neighborhood, and we have tires. My backyard butts into a farmland, and there's a bunch of tires back there. I called the people here in October of last year about it, check on it. They said it was against the law to have tires stored in your backyard, and they was going to take care of it. Well, nothing's happened yet, and I'm just wondering what can go on. The last gentleman I talked to was an Officer Penley. Does that make sense, I think? Penley? And he was supposed to be looking into it. He went out there, investigated the land, saw the tires, and said he will get rid of them. And that was like 4 months ago, and every time I call the officer back, he doesn't call me back. So I'm trying to figure out where my next move might want to be to see if we can get this thing moved along a little bit. I don't care about the tires. You can't see them. What's the problem? It's the mosquitoes. I mean, you can't even get in my backyard without getting bit up nastily. So,
If you don't mind speaking with the zoning people who are here tonight,
Okay.
She can take your information and check into what's going on with it and give you, because I don't know right off the top of my head.
I know.
But she can, she's definitely the one to speak with if you want to step out in the hall for a minute and get his information. And that way, she can give you a call as soon as she figures it out.
thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Mr. Brenner.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lohr is next.
Hi,
Hello.
my name is Ken Lohr, and I am appearing before the board because I wanted to indicate that I oppose the multi-township solid waste contract that is currently written. The unlimited collection, which includes the recycling, use of bags or owner's cans, no fuel charge, on a quarterly basis, it comes up to a little over $48. My cost is $45 today, which includes 2 bags a week, recycling separate from Rumpke, and my senior discount is $2 a month plus a fuel charge. So it's going to cost me $3 more per month, or per quarter, which amounts to $13, and I can assure you it won't bankrupt our company or my home if you go ahead and approve the way it's written. The limited collection says that you can't have bags to be used, but instead it has to be the 95-gallon container, and that includes recycling. That particular option is not satisfactory from my standpoint. Our family lives about 300 feet off the street, and I have no desire at all to haul a 95-gallon container down the driveway, back up the driveway during good weather or rainy or snowy weather. Some of my objections, to be honest, relative to the contract are, I've personally been able to use bags and recycle separate from Rumpke for 24 years. Per the contract, all residents must participate by choosing one option or the other. There's no senior discount as something was said earlier, and yet seniors get discounts today. The recycling cost is bundled in the cost of the garbage collection in the contract, and yet today there is a discount if you elect not to recycle or to recycle outside of Rumpke like we do. The limited collection does not allow for the use of bags. And from my point of view, I really think that something could be done with Rumpke to allow residents to use bags at the limited collection basis instead of having to use the 95-gallon container. The contractor is the sole supplier in this township, so that if another contractor becomes available, then a resident is not able to use that new contractor according to the contract. If the trustees approve the contract without providing the current monthly senior discount, a discount for opting out of the recycling costs, and providing for the use of bags in a limited collection, they will be dictating an increase in my household expenses and restricting my use of contractors for waste disposal. I believe that the contract does a disservice to senior citizens because you're taking away, if the contract's approved as is, the discount that they already receive, and for all residents that do recycling outside of Rumpke, that discount is gone also. So those people will be adversely affected. I assume that many seniors are going to wind up with price increases. I've only talked to 2 people, and both of them didn't know anything about the contract, and both of them have the same cost per quarter that I do, and they were surprised they were going to have a price increase. Finally, this is not a shot, but I honestly believe that trustees should not be in the business of interfering with how residents run their household and spend their own money. So I ask that you wind up considering making some of the changes that I've indicated.
Ken, Mr. Lohr, what would, the issue that I brought up, or Mr. Rowan brought up during my trustees report with regard to the senior situation, and the fact that...
Jeff, could you talk a little louder?
Sure. Oh, that's okay. With regard to the senior situation, because that's weighing on me too as I think about how I'm going to vote on this, what do you say to the notion that, to his point, the limited collection comes in under your discounted rate, and the fact that logically you would believe most seniors in the township would probably only need a limited service, given 95 gallons is the limit. One would logically think that seniors would come in under that in most cases, unless they had 10 grandkids living with them. So
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. But again, this is what I'm trying to. Yes, there's probably going to be some seniors that would be impacted who have a preponderance of collections that are exceeding that. But I got to believe most would be falling within the limited collection segment, which would be under the existing senior rate. So it wouldn't actually help in most cases. So
I don't know if that's right or wrong.
I'm not trying to debate you. I'm just that's something that I think about as a counterbalance to the senior situation.
I don't know, Jeff, how many people want to mess around with a 95-gallon container. You can't get it in your car. Mm-hmm. If it's full of garbage, you can't get it in. And so if you're hauling it around, particularly from my standpoint, rainy weather, winter weather, when there's snow on the driveway, that's a pain. In my case, all we do is throw 2 bags in the car, drive down the driveway, throw it in the street, and go to Colerain Park and walk the dog. Right. So it's not a big deal using bags. Okay. That's why we don't use cans ourselves.
Okay, thanks.
I've got Matt, I hope I don't say his wrong, Teetsort? Yep. Okay, is that close? Okay.
Yes. It's Matt Teetsort. Got a couple of comments, a couple of questions. Mm-hmm. I guess I'll start with the roads comments, because I see on tonight's agenda there's a couple of roads scheduled for resurfacing to be voted on to be awarded contract. looks like Philnall and Vernier. So after talking to Mr. Birkenhauer, and he stated that Mr. Lang said that it's a full resurfacing and curb repair, which is good to hear, because that's one of the things I know that there's, when it comes to road resurfacing, road repair, there's two ways to do it. One is that 1-inch surface over the top, and then the other is like full resurfacing and curbs and so forth. And a lot of our roads, you know, some you can get away with the resurfacing, but a lot of it, you know, needs more work than that. If you just do that 1-inch, you know, it's going to last, you know, not last as long, because, for instance, my neighborhood, I like to say, you know, we have potholes or sinkholes or dimples, and it's hard to explain, but, you know, not only do we have potholes, but there's literally dimples, you know, so when they come through and fill potholes, there's dimples, you know, that need to be filled in as well. So, that being said, one recommendation I think that might help is perhaps, because we still have the township buses, do we?
We have one bus at the senior center.
One bus at the senior center? I don't know. Maybe perhaps like the trustees and a couple of administrators and a couple of residents possibly tour the township and see firsthand what our roads look like.
I've done it. I agree.
As a group. Is that a possibility? Because see it firsthand.
We can't gather as a group like that, but
Is
nevertheless,
that the issue? Okay.
I have done what you're suggesting, and I would say Philnall is a textbook example of a neighborhood that, you know, desperately needs it. And I just wrote a guest column in June, so I'm on the record that at some point, you know, now that the Jed Z was killed, we're really looking at a road levy as the only source to get ahead of the curve. And I basically agree with everything you said. Roads are such that you have to stay on top of it. If you dig yourself a deeper hole, literally and figuratively, it's going to be more costly downstream as opposed to maintaining them as you go along. So I agree, and that's something that I think the residents will have to have a choice on at some point at the ballot.
So a committee would be able to go around in the bus, but not as a...
I'd be glad to do it again, but I actually have, you know, I could probably list off some streets that I think are the worst of the worst in Colerain Township, and, but I'd be glad to. I'm open to doing that. That's fine.
Because there was even there was a list trying to find the streets. You know, it was a little difficult because it wasn't listed on the agenda, but there were some streets last October that weren't even the ones here, and those were bad too. You know, for instance, Sella, however you pronounce it, over off of Galbraith. I think there's a section on there you can drive on that and see where good part, and then there's one block section that's bad, and then it turns good again. And then a couple comments on zoning, you know, because you have zoning residential, zoning commercial. Seems like our zoning commercial is kind of getting out of hand again. I know in the past there's been notifications sent out along Colerain Avenue and so forth, kind of reminding everybody what they're allowed to do, not allowed to do. And, you know, it's tough when, you know, one business does something and it's like, well, they're doing it, so then they're getting away with it, so everybody else does it. You know, maybe remind them again.
Just to clarify for the minutes, do you mean like snipe signs and things like that?
Sorry?
The snipe signs,
Those big flags and everything?
Right.
Yeah, I think those and a number of other things. But I know a lot of people, you know, say it's like, you know, that could be an income generator. I look at zoning violations. You know, I think zoning enforcement should be, the intent should be for conformity, you know, to get them to, you know, fall in line. You know, to actually find somebody, that should be for the egregious offenders. You know, because that's when you come into residential, it's like, you know, you don't want to start, you know, citing all our residents, you know, for every little thing. You just want them to abide by the rules that we have set in place. And then real quick, I know I'm on my last minute, I got just a couple of questions for whoever has the answers. Has somebody asked me, is there a timetable on the safe route to school sidewalks on Pool Road? That's one. This is, I believe, for Mrs. Harlow. Do you have an update on the township joining Ohio Checkbook? What's the status of the comprehensive plan update, which Mr. Jeffrey Mills was approved as a technical consultant upon his departure as a zoning administrator? And along with the solid waste district, are condominiums included or excluded? And the reason I'm asking you that is after watching the Springfield Township presentation, there was some confusion there because I watched the Springfield Township presentation and they seemed to imply that they were going to not exclude condominiums as rental units. Did you see that presentation?
I have not, but we've talked about it. It's my understanding that any multi-unit property of 4 units or less would be included, 5 units or more would be excluded.
Right.
So that's pretty much the rule of thumb
That was the
there.
impression I got from the meeting here and so forth. But
Right.
after watching the Springfield meeting on Waycross, they were telling their residents at their meeting that condominiums weren't going to be excluded. And I
That's part of the reason we're having a meeting Thursday.
found that odd because I could see that because you have 2 different kinds of condominiums. You have condominiums that are apartment type. How is that going to work with all the containers? It's not going to work. But then the condominiums that are side by side, more house types, I guess that could work. But
Yeah,
condominiums
we'll
are
be
condominiums. Rental
clarifying
units
a
are-
lot of that with the other 2 townships
Yeah.
on Thursday. With regards to safe routes, I'll let Frank address that in a second, and Heather can handle the Ohio checkbook. The issue with the zoning citations with regards to Colerain Avenue, the team has talked at great length about, we attempted last year through education to inform the businesses of what's an acceptable practice, and we are looking to address that. However, right now, because of all the rain we've had, we entered 200 nuisance maintenances this month alone just on tall grass. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve on tall grass. Signs and those issues are still of a high priority. We plan to put a plan together to address that this fall and move that forward. So we're not losing focus. It's just right now our priority is on the tall grass to try to get that mitigated as much as possible. Frank, you want to talk about safe routes?
Sure. And I've spent a couple of short stints as zoning administrator for Colerain Township, and I will tell you this, that Jeff Mills had a pamphlet and actually went door to door to the businesses to talk about some of these signage issues. And I hear what you say about citations, but many of the people you see that are chronic violators out there pretty much told Mr. Mills to be out of their business, and they are putting those out despite our best efforts to try to talk and reason with some of these people. So as much as you hate citations, we have the police officer across from us. I think sometimes with certain people, that's the only way that we can get compliance. And that's something that is a last resort, but we may be there with several of these people, businesses and residents. And I don't know any other option at this point.
I think one other thing I'd point out is right now we are in litigation with the bench billboard companies to address those signs throughout Colerain. So we have chosen to litigate that. With regards to the comp plan, that is, right now we're going to pause on that because there are some other concerns we have with regards to land use and our zoning resolution that we want to make sure we tighten up and it reflects where we want it to be before we go and update a comp plan with potentially some changes that might need to be made to a zoning resolution. But it is a priority, whether it gets done this year or the first of next year, but it's still in the budget. We are still moving forward with the comp plan.
Safe routes to schools, I'll answer that as well. They're looking at like 8 weeks, but I'll tell you with the hailstorms and the rain that we've had, that's our target, but it's tough right now with the construction schedule if we keep on getting storms like we had last night and other things. But the target is about
into the start of the school year.
What's that?
So it is going to carry over.
It certainly will, yeah. But the hope is, and that's what we talked about with the contractors, are going to get out of the front of Colerain Elementary by the time the school starts on the 24th, but there will be some construction along the Pool Road area.
Checkbook, that's,
Right.
yeah.
That's the last one.
Indeed, I've sent all of our data up to the treasurer's office, and so they have it all. They sent me a note back and said, hey, thanks, we're getting it ready. So I'm hoping it's soon. It should be. They have everything they need, so it should be live soon.
Okay.
So don't worry, everybody will know that it's live. I'll let everybody know.
All right. Thank you very much.
And finally, I have Mr. Fiedler. It's your turn. It's your turn. I'm sorry, I know you couldn't hear me. Bernie, it's your turn. It's your turn, sir. He asked me to speak up earlier because he couldn't hear me. I forgot that.
And that was I could hardly hear you, and I said that to you out there.
So,
And Ken was correct. It's really hard, kind of hard to hear you guys at times, even though I think we just spent several thousand to fix this. Is that correct? Or
We have invested money in the speaker system. It just may need to be turned up a little louder.
what I would say is just, why don't you pull it up on Waycross, a meeting, I think it was the June 2nd meeting. I continually, of course I watch it on my computer, I continually turn the volume up and down and up and down. So I think the problem is really nobody talks to the mic. And your mic is down there, I guess, and you were nice and clear before when he mentioned that. You were nice and clear. And sometimes there's somebody over here, the mic is up there, and they're looking down and talking down to the table. I'm just giving you some heads up. We spend the money, and we ought to really get something that works. Anyway, having said that, I'm only up here tonight because I saw that, and there's other people that spoke to this about the chamber. I guess I have a question. First of all, what is the statutory authority that allows us to spend money on the chamber? Should be listed. There's things that we can do as a trust or a township, and things we can't do. Some things it's okay, and some things are prohibited. I'd like to know what that is. What's the statutory authority? What is it?
Well, I don't have the particular statute, Mr. Barbier may, but I will tell you a township has the ability to promote economic development for the viability of their community.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that at all. I merely ask, is it legal or not? Because it doesn't, to me, appear to be that way. Unless, are they a 501c3?
They are a 501c3. That just actually got changed.
Say that
I think
again?
They are a 501c3 that just got filed. I believe they started as a 501c6, and that was changed to a C3. So they are a C3 organization. And that was just filed about 2 weeks ago.
Excuse me?
That was just filed a couple weeks ago.
So they are a 501c3.
That's correct.
Do you agree with that?
Well, yes, that's true, but I'm not going to give legal opinions on
I didn't ask for a legal opinion,
Yeah. Well,
but there's going to be a legal opinion sooner or later
Just let me finish,
if
please.
it's not correct.
All right, just let me finish, please. I'm not going to give on-the-fly legal opinions in public.
So we really don't know if it's legal or not.
No, I'm not saying that.
Well, sure you are.
No,
Okay,
I'm not
let's
saying
go.
that.
Let's just.
I give my legal opinions to the trustees.
I understand
And listen, please. They're protected. They're protected by the attorney-client privilege.
Sir, I didn't come up here to argue with you.
Well, yeah, but
It
you'd
just
ask me a
seems
question.
odd that there's always something, but I tell you what seems odd, and Rich McVeigh brought it up. And that's why I'm here tonight. We don't have the money, and you talked about a levy, but we have money to give to others. But if some other nonprofit came up here, would they get an office in the administration building? No, absolutely not. Would a nonprofit be able to get on way across and say, "Hey, we'd like to say a few words"? No. It's kind of one-sided, and I guess that's what really, really, really bothers me. If the chamber can't hold their own, if you will, or stand up and be counted, and I'm going to share this with you. 3 years ago, Dennis and I talked about the chamber, and I said, I just was at a thing over in Sharonville, and I said, we really need to look at getting a chamber in Colerain, because what I saw over in Sharonville, I was there invited as a guest for one of our customers. They were getting some award, but there was hundreds of people there, and they'd only been operational for about 2 or 3 years, and they had 300 members, and they were vibrant. And here we are, we're still financing them. And I guess that's the part that bothers me. there's an issue. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know my tax dollars were going for it, because we're going to turn around and try to promote a levy, and I'm sure we need to do that in some case, but it's going to probably put us, what, number one in a county is all the townships have the highest tax rate?
There's no way.
We even know, don't say that, no way. We're number 3 now and pushing number 2.
High and Springfield are so far above us that it's highly
Well,
unlikely.
you hope. But
I know.
we get another
I'm in a
700,
position to vote for how much it would be. So.
I understand what you're saying, but we get also another 700,000 a year, 7 or 800,000 a year from Rumpke for their tipping fees. Well, the other ones don't have it. We should not be in this kind of shape. That's just my opinion, and I'll let it be at that.
Can I just
Now, and I'm not going to I'm going to lay out Mr. Roy in a little bit. And February the 11th, 2014, it said, I ain't going to read it all. He said, as of December the 21st, 2014, quite some time ago, the chamber will be self-sufficient and the president position will be eliminated from the township payroll. Well, to start with, we gave the chamber a leg up by furnishing them the building and the president of the organization, and that was one thing that I thought was out of line. But let's get them let's get them started. But when we now, though, we want to continue this on and keep financing, that's wrong. And I really want an answer to this whole thing. But you say they're 501c3. And then I also want to know where the statutory authority is to allow that to happen.
Mr. Fielday, your time's kind of up. I let you go over.
Excuse me?
Your time is up. I let you go over because there was some discussion back and
The man
forth.
before me spoke for 10 minutes, ma'am.
Oh.
And part of it I mentioned about you guys need to, let's be fair here.
I let you go over the time because you were having discussion back and forth, but you're repeating the same things over and over again. And you're passionate.
But I'm not finished.
Mr. Fielday.
And the other part of it, I would say, that you have a real attitude to start with.
Mr. Fielday, we have a
that-
clock for a reason. It's 5 minutes. We try to keep everybody the same. Every now and then somebody asks.
This man over here before me spoke for 10 minutes, and there was a lot of going back and forth. So just be fair. That's all I ask. The other thing I am going to say to you is that whole attitude.
You get up here and insult us every time you come
I
to a
didn't
meeting.
insult you at all.
Okay, the last time you
But
accused us of taking
I-
kickbacks, and this time you're about to
Now wait a minute.
say
Now wait a
whatever
minute.
you're going to say.
Last time I was here, you got all upset, and I merely asked a question. It was a yes or no answer. You refused to give it to me.
Which was out of
And why are we
line.
getting into this discussion like this?
Because you're the one saying I have an attitude. I didn't have an attitude with Mr. Lohr or Mr. McVeigh.
The other man spoke for 10 minutes, and mine just
You don't have
flipped
attitude
over.
with people who insult us and call
Do
us
what?
liars and thieves.
A what? And then the other thing I was going to say to you, it's really, really embarrassing, and I use that word, that you allowed this fiasco at the beginning of the meeting to go on. That you guys got up and left, somebody else back here in the back here is talking. You have the gavel. You control the meeting, but to get up and leave and let us all sit here, that's very insulting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fielder. Have a
And
seat.
you're welcome. No, you're not welcome, because that wasn't nice.
Okay, have a seat, sir.
You ain't any better, Mason.
And now we're on to Public Safety Department.
Thank you for your attitude. Great.
Public Safety.
Ask the trustees to approve a $250 donation from the Northwest Exchange Club. That was given for the Driving Angels program.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Mr. Dieters? Sorry. Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bitter?
Aye.
Okay, good evening. The fire department has 4 action items for the board to consider tonight. The first one is a request authorization for a change of pay status for Joel Balmer from firefighter paramedic to firefighter paramedic fire apparatus operator, classification at a rate of pay of $16.98 an hour, effective Wednesday, August 5th, 2015.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Okay, the second item is also a request of authorization for a change of pay status for Joe Plackey from firefighter paramedic to firefighter paramedic fire apparatus operator, classification at a new rate of $16.98 an hour, effective Wednesday, August 5th, 2015.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
The third item is a request for authorization for a change of pay status for Raymond Fitzgerald from firefighter EMT basic fire apparatus operator to firefighter paramedic fire apparatus operator, classification at a new rate of pay of $16.98 per hour, effective August the 5th, 2015.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And lastly, request of authorization to establish a reservist employee classification, which will permit the hiring of retired fire service members. The program will provide former fire service employees and citizens of the community the opportunity to augment the fire department support personnel with the delivery of administrative work, community risk reduction work, and training and education services to the department and to the community.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
This is the board's approval for the resolution that's in your packet establishing a participation in secondhand property tracking system.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Here's the resolution.
Finally, ask the board's approval to accept a radar unit awarded by the state of Ohio to the Colerain Police Department for our traffic safety efforts. The radar unit's worth about $4,000, so it's going to be great to get it into service and get it in one of our police cars.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
I have three items tonight. The first is the road resurfacing. Recommending the board award the contract for the 2015 road resurfacing project in the amount of $401,570.70 to R.A. Miller Construction Company, who was the lowest bidder meeting specifications. We're using the $375,000 from the general fund and reallocating $26,570.70 from available funds from purchase order 146-2014. This is for Phil Knoll Drive, which you spoke of earlier, from Hanley to the new subdivision where it starts. The address is 3797. And for Vernier Drive, which is back in Colerain Heights, it's from cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac.
Mr. Lang, members of the board, just for clarification, the reallocation from purchase order 146-2014, historically, we have done some road improvement. If we have a good year in the winter where we don't have to spend as much money on salt, we'll recapture some of those dollars. So what Mr. Lang's proposing to do here is, because we had a pretty mild winter and did not have to spend all of our salt budgets, to reallocate a portion of that to be able to accomplish these projects. And that's how we're able to fund what's being requested tonight.
Correct.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Here's the contract for your signature.
Can I say something else while we're on the subject of road surfacing? You know, when Mr. Fielday was up here, he brought up the issue of funding and made a whole bunch of charges. You know, I will tell you this. You know, our tax rate is something I look at very closely. Mr. Rowan looks at it closely. We do a lot of benchmarking. What I would tell you is this. We are a community of 58,500 people. We have 42 square miles, and if we were a city, we'd be the 13th or 14th largest in the state of Ohio. And so you can't fund a township like that with your good looks, especially in my case. So, you know, I would just argue that, you know, when you look at our road funding, you know, compared to cities of comparable size and townships of comparable size, you know, we're extremely efficient right now. But, you know, as we've talked before, you reach a point with road maintenance when, if you don't keep up, you're just digging a bigger hole for yourself, and that's where I think where we are right now. A lot of people have invested a lot in their homes, and they live on township roads, and so, you know, this is a discussion that I think is going to continue for the next couple quarters. And, when we get into 2016, we'll talk about what we want to do. But, to just say, that we can fund road maintenance with the money we get from Rumpke for tipping fees is just ludicrous. So just a couple thoughts there while we were on the subject of road resurfacing. I thought they bared mentioning. Would you disagree with anything I said, Mr. Lang?
I agree with everything.
Your long history with the township and your experience in this field.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, hold on.
We did.
Okay. We got
Okay.
sidetracked there. Okay, the next one is the road acceptance.
Road acceptance, yeah. Respectfully request the board accept Tansing Drive in the Tansing Place subdivision, section 2. This is the last street in that subdivision. It's approximately 700 feet.
Motion approved.
Second.
And
While she's calling the roll, I will just say, how many road miles does that bring us up to now?
we are just shy of 113.
113 road miles to try to.
And I look for that to expand even more before the end of the year.
Thank you.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Okay, and I have a donation acceptance. Request approval to accept a $400 donation for the memorial tree program in the parks. This money is to buy 2 memorial trees for someone who couldn't afford a memorial tree. This person that donated wishes to remain anonymous, so we do appreciate it.
And again, that's for Colerain Park, where you can purchase trees and plaques for people to make a memorial to people you care about. So
Yes.
anyone interested in that, just like our memorial site at Springdale and Colerain, you can purchase a brick to commemorate your loved ones and things of that nature. So,
Motion approved.
second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Zoning.
Good evening. I have 2 resolutions for consideration tonight. The first will be requesting approval of a resolution declaring and extending a moratorium on alternative financial services providers until November 10th of 2015. This is an extension on a moratorium that was put in place last August and will allow time to do a text amendment to the zoning resolution to address those uses.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Here's the resolution.
Next up, we have the resolution to declare a nuisance and order abatement of the properties listed on the resolution for the August abatement list.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt, how many are on here? I mean, there's a whole bunch on here.
There are quite a few. We did a lot of inspections through the month of July to kind of tee this up. There's been so much rain. We've really had a lot of concerns and complaints that have come in. So we've kind of had a blitz, is what we've been calling it. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some of these properties taken care of, and hopefully a lot of them will be addressed by the owners.
That moves us on to, wait, we voted yes?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to not get ahead of myself tonight. On to administration.
The item I have tonight, if you don't mind, if I could address one thing about the waste district contract. The gentleman talked about the tires on the property. Every year we have the recycle day, and that's funded through a recycling incentive fund. And right now, Colerain Township has one of the lowest recycling rates. And if you ask many of our residents, because we have to pay for recycling, our recycle day is funded through our recycling rates, and we have to think that the recycling would go up, according to the expert, 100 to 150% in Colerain Township, which will lessen the extent of use of the landfill in Colerain Township. So there is a huge environmental impact of this waste district that I think can't be understated. I know in some cases it might be $1 more a month, but I think our grandchildren, our children, that this landfill is filling up at a great pace, and we're one of the largest townships in the state of Ohio, and our residents are recycling at a rate of about 8%. And people like Ken are taking up here, but that's a minority. And one thing we talked about tonight was zoning and the cans in front of the houses. Most people don't have a 300 foot driveway. They have a very small driveway, and some people have to put their cans in front of their house. So I think that if you look at the vast majority of our residents, according to the experts, they will be saving a substantial amount on this contract. And I do think that we really need to look at how fast we're filling up this landfill with materials that can and should be recycled. And that's happening right now in Colerain Township. The item I have tonight is the utility burial with CDS. This is basically contract management. They have a engineer on site throughout the night when the utility burial is occurring, and this has lasted a lot longer due to weather, due to conduits found under Colerain Avenue that nobody knew were there, and many other reasons, including the gas lines and other things. I'm asking tonight to increase that contract to not to exceed $15,000 for project management, and that's with CDS. And I did hear today that they found a sanitary sewer line that was not marked on the GIS, so we're on hold mode right now. So this is very appropriate that we get this taken care of this evening. That being the case, I'm asking the trustees to approve not to exceed $15,000 construction management addition to CDS contract.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Hi, and Frank, this is part of the larger streetscape initiative that was passed 2010.
This is what we sold bonds for years ago, and we are finally going to construction.
More importantly, we're committed to the project because of the covenants of the bonds.
The bond stated that it was for bearing of utilities, and we have to follow through with that.
Okay, my final item is the resolution amending the current lease agreement with the Colerain Chamber of Commerce. Before I make the recommendation, I'd just like to speak briefly about what I think my role is as the administrator and talk a little bit about our vision and mission statement. You know, we've adopted this vision statement of being a best-in-class community, and our mission statement talks about engaging our businesses, our residents, and our visitors to create a safe and vibrant community. While we have the statutory ability to support a Chamber of Commerce for economic development purposes, it's being done in Anderson Township. They share part of their complex with their Chamber of Commerce. We have made a significant commitment to economic development in this community, and I believe that it's our responsibility to try to promote businesses. And what a chamber does is it creates opportunities through networking, through discount programs, whether it's a workers' comp program or an insurance program, to help these businesses be successful so that we don't have empty storefronts. We do receive a significant amount of revenue and taxes from businesses, so to keep them businesses viable and vibrant within this community, I think is a responsibility. And we spend a lot of time at the leadership team and with the board in trying to balance the buckets of money that we have. We've not closed our parks. We've made significant reductions. We've not closed our senior center, but we've made significant reductions. I would state that while this is approximately $6,000 a year, many businesses that serve on that chamber pay a membership fee, and then they're hit up for sponsorships. This is really a sponsorship. Instead of paying them money to help them be promoting, we're just giving them rent at no cost. And I believe as we look at the whole big picture and trying to make Colerain Township a best-in-class community, I think having a vibrant Chamber of Commerce that is less than 2 years old, just over 18 months old as a matter of fact, I think we have an obligation to some degree to try to help support them and make them successful. This proposal is through 2016, which allows the chamber to be almost 3 years old, and by then, if you're going to be a successful chamber, you would hope that you would be able to move forward. I think having the chamber on this campus promotes a presence for the township and a collaboration and a partnership, and that's one of the reasons I support this agreement. So I would recommend that you consider amending this lease agreement through 2016 as a sustaining sponsor by waiving their rent.
Jim, just a comment for a minute before we vote. I'm kind of sad that the 2 or 3 people that are here to speak against us tonight opted to leave the room before we actually discussed it and heard our comments on it. But just to clarify, what type of space is the chamber actually taken over in that building? They're not in the giant halls where we rent out for weddings or parties, or because we were just in one on Wednesday night, and that obviously...
The lease agreement provides them two spaces, an office space, and if they do decide to add another staff member, they would have access to that reception area as you come in.
Give us an idea of what square footage would you estimate that they're actually consuming?
Maybe 200 square foot at the most.
They're in no way, shape, or form hindering the rental of either of the two, we'll call them ballrooms.
Absolutely not. And the only other thing we provide them is space for them to have their board meeting once a month. They meet in one of the ballrooms. It's an hour meeting. But any other utilization of that space, unless we choose to do something separate, there's a rental fee associated with that. So if they want to have an event there, and that's why they've taken a lot of their events out of the township, and they'll go to Joseph Chevrolet or Vinaclet or something like that, just because they don't have to pay us rent to do that. And I understand that because they're an up-and-coming chamber. They also provide a little bit of support for us by having somebody there, because we're down to one staffer now at the senior center. If Tawana's not present and somebody comes in to buy a park pass, then we have a chamber person there redirecting people back to one of our other offices. So it does work as a true partnership where we're helping them out and they're helping us out.
And the space that they're utilizing, we'll call it the office space, has that ever been rented out before?
No.
That, if I'm correct, used to be the office of the director of the community center.
The director and her administrative assistant when we had those positions.
The offices that they're occupying were never rented before and were technically the offices of staff members of the township.
That's correct.
Okay, just to be clear on that. Okay.
Yeah, very well spoken, Mr. Rowan, on the rationale for this. I really have nothing to add. You hit all the great points. You know, this chamber is very young. It's still maturing and incubating, and you know, it needs support. Well, you know, modest support to let it reach maturity. Having said all that, there are some of the points that were made that I actually agree with, believe it or not. But I will just say that, you know, I can't guarantee my yes vote beyond this year, but for one more year, I don't have a problem because of all the reasons you stated. It would, you know, just be stupid to pull the rug out from under a organization that we want to succeed, to build business development in Colerain Township, which increases our tax base without putting any burden on the residents. So it's just, you know, illogical to a certain extent to attack this organization. The support is very modest because of the reasons that were just stated, and so for that reason, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Ms. Barlow, I believe you're next.
I am. I'd like to ask for the board's usual approval of payroll, purchase orders, and receipts.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Dieters? I'm sorry. Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And at the conversation last week, I met a new friend, and he told me that he'd never been to a township meeting. And I said, well, you have to come. So, welcome. That's all.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. Is there any further need for executive session tonight?
Before I make a motion to adjourn, you know, we had something happen tonight that was a first for me in my 9.5 years as trustee. You know, and so was it unusual to call a recess and walk out? I guess it was. But you can't expect the board to sit here and hear itself slandered. We've already been slandered once in the Northwest Press. They chose to give this baseless charge about this rock credibility by printing that story, which I thought was an affront in and of itself. But now it's perpetuated yet again. And it's a bold-faced lie. Our former Parks and Services director stood up and said, I am the one who ordered the rock moved. It wasn't the board, it wasn't Mr. Rowan, it was me. And so, yet this lie continues to be perpetuated. And so, you know, was it unusual tonight? Yes, it was, and hopefully that'll never happen again. But I will just, you know, argue that, you know, we expect a certain amount of respect in turn, and we'll grant you the same courtesy. And when that doesn't happen, you know, we had to take action. But I don't apologize for not sitting around and being slandered again by an immature person like that. So there you go. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And, well, I'll agree with Jeff. As you saw, I mean, we had several comments, several speakers tonight. There were no problems with anyone until you start making comments accusing us of things or challenging our integrity or our honesty or things of that nature. If that's how you're going to act, then, yeah, you're going to get attitude back. I apologize to Mr. Fielday. I don't like getting feisty with him, but if those are the kind of comments you're going to make, that's what you're going to get back, at least out of me. So with that, yes, Mr. Active?
why don't we take that offline at the end
Yeah.
of the meeting? There's a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye. Nice evening.
Yeah.